Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now on a video yesterday, I showed you how I made this tumbler. Now I'm not thrilled with this actual design. It's supposed to be one of those puff or enhanced designs. And to me, the effects that they put on it to try to make it look that way just kind of makes it look fuzzy. But the point of the video was to show you how to do this torn paper effect. And so I got this idea by looking at a little video clip in an email that I received from a Tumbler company. Now, when they made theirs, instead of sublimating the words on, they actually just used vinyl. But I thought if I am sublimating a tumbler, sublimation is going to hold up so much better than vinyl, so I actually sublimated this on as well. So if you want to see how I did this, watch yesterday's video. Now, two things about this tumbler. I wasn't thrilled with how this design worked with the torn paper effect. I think this was too light. And then I wanted to see if I could generate this torn paper effect on the computer. I just thought that instead of trying to figure out where to have this, where to put this, it would just be much easier if you generated all on the computer. So let's see how today goes. I found a torn paper effect on Creative Fabrica, and then I added it to my design that I want to use. Now, it's not nearly as smooth as the one that I did yesterday where I actually truly tore the paper, but we're going to see how it looks. Now, if you are interested in seeing how I set this up on the computer, let me know. I don't mind doing a video to show you that, but probably for most of you, that's going to be a long, tedious video that you really don't have interest in. So today, we're just going to see how this turns out. All right, so what I have to work with today is my design, my tumbler. This is a Real Kent tumbler. It comes with straws, a cleaner, and a little black thing that goes on the bottom. First thing I'm going to do is clean it with some alcohol and a paper towel. I have a Cricut mat to set my tumbler on when it comes out of the press when it's hot, a heat-resistant glove, my tumbler press, tape, a rotary cutter, a ruler, and butcher paper. So let's get started. So I'm just going to spray a little bit of alcohol on this paper towel. Now you want to make sure you don't get any of that alcohol on your design. So I set my design over to the side. And then I'll take a dry part, dry it off, and then by the time I'm ready to use this, that's going to be plenty dry. Alcohol evaporates very quickly. All right, let's make sure that's dry. Now, the number one question I seem to get is, what size should I cut my design? That is going to depend on your tumblers. Now, I want to show you one thing. I didn't quite have my little torn paper edge down far enough, but I'm going to cut that off anyway. So that is a little bit of a mistake, but in the end, it's not going to matter one way or another. So I'm going to cut all the way off the top and the bottom first, the top side of the tumbler and the bottom side of the tumbler. And then we're going to see if it's the right height for the tumbler. I'll probably need to cut it down a little bit. I did make my design just a little bit smaller today. Instead of 9.4 around and 8.2 tall, I made it 9.3 by 8.15. But again, those measurements might not work for your tumblers. Okay, so that is a little bit more paper than I really want. I need to keep in mind that I want my saying over here centered, so I don't want to take all of the difference off one end or the other unless it's so minute that it's not going to matter. All right, let's go ahead and try that again. So I think that's going to be okay. What I do is I turn it over so the top of my tumbler is down on my table. And then I want to make sure that the side that I want down is actually, I'll mess that up, is actually at the bottom, which in my case is the top right now. Okay, so that looks good as far as height. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and cut off as much of this end as I can without cutting off any of the actual picture. So I'm going to have it straight. I'm just going to start sliding it until I can no longer see any ink. Now there's extra space at each end, so I have plenty to cut off at this end too. All right, so let's just do the same thing at this end. Let's cut off most all the paper until you get to the words. Okay, so if I were actually sublimating a full wrap design, there's a little sliver of white that I see from the tumbler between these two edges. Because these two edges are white and my tumbler's white, that is not going to matter. So I think that's pretty good right there. All right, I decided to pull out my little Pinch Perfect tool. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. But what it does is it helps you pull your paper really, really tightly together. All right, so let's just put one piece of tape on each side of that. And for now, I'm not going to push down real hard on the tape because I'm hoping it's not stuck to the tumbler, because I might need to adjust where my paper is. All right, so I'm going to put it on one piece and then make sure I'm pulling it tight, put it on the other piece. Okay, so the reason I wanted to wait was I want to make sure that I have paper just above the edge on the top. And hopefully you can see there's a tiny bit of paper above that top. So now I know I'm good to go. Now, I feel like this didn't get very tight. I didn't do a very good job on the first piece of tape. I was too worried about it sticking to the tumbler and me not being able to slide my paper. So let's revisit that one. Let's just redo it. All right, so I'm going to put it on this side and then pull my paper together and then just pull that down. All right, I'm done with that. So again, I am going to put my tape on one side, pull my paper tight, and then put my tape down. This piece I can just wrap over the top of the tumbler, pulling it really tight. And then the same thing down here. All right, so I have a ton of Tumbler videos where I show how to tape these. And so I'm probably going to fast forward through a decent amount of this. But basically what I do is I put one piece of tape even with the top of the tumbler and I don't pull it super tight. Then I put the next piece up above that, I pull it super tight, and then I fold that over. I do the same thing down here. Let me do that, and then once I have it taped, I'm going to show you what you need to worry about for puckering. Now the other thing is, if this were a full wrap, I'd want to go with the piece of paper that's on top and pull against the other side. This isn't a full wrap, it's not overlapped, so I don't really need to worry about that. So you saw me put the first piece of tape on, then I put the second piece higher, and then I went around and I kind of pushed the paper in, and then when I pushed the paper down, I just went straight over. I don't twist it, I just go straight over. Then I look to see, are there any little puckers at the top or the bottom? And so check out right here, see if you can see a little gap in that paper. So I'm going to go all the way around and just make sure I have that pushed down really, really tightly. Now your press is also going to help with this because it's going to press on that. But I like to have them as close to perfect as possible when it goes into the press. Now at this end you tend to get more puckering because your paper is slightly bending over this beveled edge. So I'm going to smooth all of those out. Then the last thing you can do is, if you have a table that you're not going to scratch up or make dents in, but with my cutting mat here, I can take it and roll it really heavy on this cutting mat to try to even make that a little better. And at this point, we're ready to put this into the press. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. The switch is on the side. And then this press has 4 presets, so you can have those programmed for 4 different things. If you have a 5th thing, it's not a big deal. You just adjust one of those. I have preset number 1 set for my tumblers. I'm going to heat it to 375 for 50 seconds. I'll press it 50 seconds, rotate it once, 50 more seconds, and then we're done. Now, Enor reached out to me last night with an email and they said, hey, we saw your video. Be sure and tell the viewers that this thing is at a low price right now. So yesterday it was on Amazon for $249, which is a marked down price, and then there was a $20 coupon, so it made it $229. When I looked earlier today, we're in Prime Days these days, I think it was actually just directly $229, no coupon. Now you know how prices go on Amazon. They go up, they go down, there's coupons added. Tumbler presses have really come down in price. Now, you can get theirs for less than that, but this one actually comes with a hat press as well. So I have my butcher paper. I put my seam either facing me or to the back. And then I like my open side to the right, so I can just reach in there with my right hand with the glove and rotate it. So we're just going to slide this in. Make sure that it's fully within the press. And then just pull this closed. Now I have to press enter to get the countdown to start. While it's cooking, let me talk to you. There's these pressure knobs on the back. You can turn those to tighten up the press or to loosen the press. I keep them the same because they work for my tumblers. Now when I first got it, I had to adjust those, but I like the pressure now, so I keep it. All right, the time went off. So we'll go ahead and open this up, and then with my glove, because this is extremely hot, I'm going to go ahead and rotate it and have the seam at the back. Now, unlike some tumbler presses, this one you have to actually push the button to reset the 50 seconds and push it again to start the countdown. Some tumbler presses, they just start counting down automatically when you close it. This one you do have to remember to push it. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn it off. Then I'll slide my tumbler out, and I'm just going to set it on this Cricut mat so that it doesn't burn my chopping mat or my table. Now, I usually start peeling these pretty much right away. Now, the risk you run with that is it is still extremely, extremely hot. So if your paper shifts while you're messing with it, you could cause a little blurriness. For today, I'm actually going to wait 3 or 4 minutes before I start peeling that tape off. So it's only been 3 or 4 minutes and the tumbler is still, it's pretty darn hot, but I can touch it. I'm ready to go ahead and start taking that tape off. All right, this is the exciting and the nerve-wracking part because you always wonder, how did it turn out? We are just about ready to see. This image looks so dark and vibrant. Hopefully that's how it looks on the tumbler. All right, I am going to sneak a little peek. Oh, I think that's going to be gorgeous. Those colors look beautiful. Hopefully the seam looks beautiful and the bottom and the top look beautiful. All right, are you ready to see this? I'm ready to see this. Oh my goodness. Okay, see this white right here? Don't worry about that. That's paper. That is just remnants of the paper where it's slightly stuck. Now my words, they're pretty close to centered. They're a little closer that way than they are that way. So that's going to let me know next time I use this template, move my words a little bit this way. But I think it looks pretty good still. All right, let me get some water on a paper towel and get that cleaned off. All right, so that came right off. I can still feel a little bit of it on the tumbler, so keep just pressing on that till it's all off. All right, let's go ahead and put our lid on. So much better than yesterday's tumbler as far as the contrast. Let's look at those seams. So the top seam, now I see a little glare where this ring light is. Watch as I turn it. There's really no white there. So you kind of have to watch. Well, okay, hold on. Right there. I should have had that just a tiny bit higher. I don't think anybody's going to notice that. Other than that one little thing, this top seam is gorgeous. None of those little pucker marks. Let's check out the bottom. Now notice as I'm holding this up, you see a little bit of this white on the beveled part. And I purposefully try to make it where your image ends about there when it is sitting on the table and it's down like this. Your eye, I wish I could show this, but my eye sees none of that white as I'm looking down on the tumbler. For me to see that white, I have to hold the tumbler up. So that's just how I like to do it. I think it keeps a much cleaner look than having it wrap around the bottom and have those puckers. So bloom where you are planted. I think the rip looks pretty good. I see a little more paper right there. Now I got this image off of Creative Fabrica. It was in a file that came with, I think, 37 of these. Now, since I'm a member, I don't pay each time I download. If you're not a member and you want to do a free trial membership, it lasts a month or 10 free downloads, whichever comes first. I'll put a link to that in the video description. I love these colors. So thanks so much for joining me today. I love how this turned out. And until my next video, bye-bye.